All right, so we're recording. All right, so once again, welcome to our class, Intelligent Behavior Analysis. And let me just put some light so that we see ourselves. And today we're gonna just go over some of the code in MATLAB to implement some of the analysis of the 7 universal microexpressions and the narrative of some certain people that we collected. And so these are the outputs of the scripts in MATLAB. So, and then we'll go over the scripts. The first thing is, once again, we take these 3 areas of the face and sort of the eye area, the nose, and the mouth area and contour. And we look at the speed, which is the pixels per unit time for each person's micro expression movie. So you guys made a video, so we go over that video and allocate a number of frames per unit time. So each conversion in MATLAB into from the video data into the open pose and then into the MATLAB data type gives the frames per second, and then it gives V1, V2, and V3, remember? The frames per second vary between 25 and 30 frames per second. So it's a little bit variable. So we just look at that number and plug it in for each individual video processing instance. And then you can take, if you take 30 times 25, you're taking half a minute. Yes, half a minute, because there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, and there are 30 frames in 1 second. For example, when the frequency, the number of frames per second is 30, for example. If it's 25, then you take 25 times 30, that's half a minute. And you can take windows of that length. We can all agree on what that will be when we do it as a group for the paper, to be consistent. And we can also try other windows to try and see how much this affects the overall outcome. So in this case, I took Hannah's happiness and Hannah's anger data, and this is the speed pixels per unit time data, which I derived from the trajectory in pixels, which has 2 dimensions, X and Y, horizontal and vertical pixels per unit time. And take that trajectory, that's the position trajectory, derive the velocity field, which is also 2-dimensional, and then convert that to a scalar field, which is the speed, and that gives us the speed profile over time. So these are for 10 to the 4th, 6 times 10 to the 4th number of frames at 25 hertz in her case. And that information comes from the frames per second in the MATLAB data structure that Joe's wrapper creates. And so there are slight differences here in the anger versus happiness. You can note in the raw data, and you can note in the amplitude. So this refers to the amplitude of the speed, and these are the peaks. These are peaks too, but these are smaller peaks and larger peaks. So high frequency peaks, lower frequency peaks. And then we convert that to micro movement spikes, which is the standardized waveform that we've been using from 0 to 1. And you can see that the anger in her case spans a narrower bandwidth than the happiness. So already you can see that there is a difference there. And then when you convert that to the gamma parameter space and export the moments, the mean, the variance, the skewness, and the kurtosis proportional to the size of the market, you see that anger and happiness stand at a distance. And we can measure that distance with the air mover's distance in terms of the difference in the frequency histograms, the frequency distributions for each one of the regions of the face. So in this case, I just color coded in blue anger and in green happiness. And each one of the markers represents the areas V1, V2, and V3 of the face. So that's Hannah's anger versus happiness. And another thing I did is I took, so that data, which are this green point and blue point in here, embedded in this cloud of points, is the summary data across all the frames. So that would be 10 to the 4th frames that we saw before. So that comprises a whole length of time that the video lasts. And we can settle on what that should be for everybody when we do this as a group. But for the time being, I just took the entire length. But then I took that same video and chunk it into windows of half minute windows. And for each one of the V1, V2, V3, in this case, I color coded the V1, V2, V3 in black V1, in blue V2, and in red V3. So the triangle, inverted triangle is the mouth area, the black circle is the eyes area, and the diamond blue is the sort of nose, upper lip area. And so when I did that, the frame by frame with a 10% overlapping window, this resulted in this cloud of points in the scatter that is centered at the pretty much at the signatures of the overall movie. So that sort of tells us a trajectory of this stochastic trajectory that is centered at the overall, when we take the signature over all the frames. So that's a good thing, because that tells us that, so these are variations. And we can play with different windows and see how, for example, the window and the overlapping number that makes this cloud tighter to the center. So that would be one criteria to choose the window, for example. If we will see that as we do this with a narrative, then this unfolds into an actual trajectory that spans a set of positions in this parameter space. Then I took all of Hannah's 7 expressions. So the legends, just to save a space here, the legend is just constrained to V1. This is her anger is it's away from all the others. Green is the happiness, remember, that we had just plotted. But then there is also a distance from happiness to sadness that is quite marked there, and also to surprise is closer. Her happiness is closer to fear and disgust and contempt, but they are nonetheless separable. So when you rotate this figure, you can see the separability. And so that's for Hannah. And then I went ahead and did other people. So this is Richa, and she has very distinct signatures as well. And Theo has this huge triangle here for contempt. So it's very variable, but also good separability.
Yeah, because I also could not decide what contempt is.
Yeah, I saw that in the movie. I went and looked at the movie, and
what am I supposed to do with contempt? It's not a micro expression familiar. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the way she described it is like asymmetric. So if you could do just like one mouth, I don't know. We can go over it and see, because this is all staged, right? And it's going to be very different from the spontaneous thing, because some people, like you don't know what to do with contempt. Other people may not be good at surprise or distinguishing surprise versus fear.
Maybe this great variability in how the 3 areas where the three areas lies, maybe could this be a way to detect
Yes.
fake, like I did, like this
Yeah.
detecting?
Yeah, in personalized form, and it would reduce the this from 3 points to 1, right? So if we take, for example, the area of the triangle, that will give us one number rather than having three parameters there. So we can, this is just the first pass, and then we can begin to think like that along those lines. Is an excellent point. So we could definitely, so the point of this figure is that you can readily begin to see how this needs to be personalized. Even though it's a universal feature that they are describing, that universality is by observation, that it has some something common and recruits some common muscles, areas of the face. But when you look at the variability of it, is personalized. So this is a very interesting result to begin with, because it doesn't throw away the universality of it, but it does tell you that within that universality, we definitely have individuality on how we express culturally and otherwise, personally, what these emotions are. So we would have to think of ways of capturing that individuality the best way we can. So that's one way to do it that Theo has proposed, is to actually look at that variability as an index. We could build indexes of that. And it's easy to do because we have the notion of distance that we can apply in probability space. So we can essentially build a number of things here that are going to be useful. Then I did Mona, Elizabeth, and Laura. I didn't do Jayway here because I didn't finish, but we'll do that. And what I plan to do is then put this code that I used to create these in each one of your folders inbox. So you rerun it and get familiar with it. And the ones that haven't done it, generate their data. But you can see that it's every person has a different configuration and a different expression of each micro expression, and a different set of distances. So we could use distance, we could use the area inside the triangle. We can think of other ways to characterize this individuality. And yeah, so that's interesting. Then I did, for the people that I had happiness, I put all the happiness together and got, so these are Theo and Jayway and Nipun in blue, and these are the rest in red. And so maybe, for example, the area that the males span is broader than the area that the overall scatter of the females span. So that would be kind of one way to express those differences. In anger, we also have a differentiation. I didn't have Nipun and Melissa here, so it's not complete by any means, but anger is more distributed than happiness. So you have more spread. So it'll be interesting to see each one of the expressions for everybody together. So that's what we're going with this. Then I did Vanessa Van Edwards' narrative, different narratives, because remember, she was the first one that we computed the 7 micro expressions, and these are her, which are separable in her case as well. And so I did this kind of, oh wait, I think I may have not shared this with, let me just make sure that I share it with video. Okay, everybody can see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is then a narrative that she has.
Hello, YouTube friends. I am so excited to be coming at you from my brand new YouTube studio. Yay! So I thought I'd give you a quick studio tour because I'm super proud of it, and I've been waiting a long time in my career to have a space where I could film for you and speak with you, and I want to try something different on YouTube and with my videos. Something a little more personal, maybe some tips that just come from the heart, maybe filming some more casual videos if you're okay with that.
Okay, so this is her and launching her YouTube channel, and you know, a lot of these people doing emotional stuff are monetizing what they do in different ways. So this if you Google, you can see this. Paul Ekman also has different ways to monetize what he's doing. So it's interesting that people are attracted to this kind of popularized science. But I mean, you know, that's a good thing, but because it's a way to also, it's another way to further popularize our science, which we can talk about later, and how to communicate that to the public and so on. So we could take advantage of some things there. But at the same time, we should keep in mind that a lot of what has been done there has been done by observation. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, this whole psychology field is based on that, right? But now what this type of analysis bring to the table is a new layer of data that we can begin to learn to interpret and so forth. So here's the whole open post version of her narrative there, and capturing some frame by frame these micro expressions, and traveling through this probability space. So again, remember the red is the upper area here, the blue is the nose area here, and the red is the mouth with this contour, and that's what's happening. So the red is spanning the most trajectory. The cyan points here is where it starts and where it begins. And so you can see the sort of the whole trajectory of the face going through that, and is lying between these two regions. This is the anger region, and this is the contempt, fear, sadness, and surprise region. And so this is closer to between these two regions. Then I did more of that analysis, kind of quantifying the distance to each one of the basic emotions. So this is just telling us again that it's close to anger, disgust, happiness. And so that's kind of what the open post grids reveal for this V region. And again, for the mouth region, like we had done before, I think, it's closer, it's kind of more variable, closer to anger, oscillating between anger, disgust, and happiness again, but also some of the surprise features and so forth. And again, this is in the V2 region also has its own pattern. So again, this is something that we would play with in terms of the window size, the overlapping size, and so forth, because that's going to impact this a little bit. So we would have to see a range of windows to see where we settle, and report that intervals, kind of these distances will have intervals, so it will be a range. And again, this is another way that I had shown you before of quantifying gamma frame by gamma frame the frequency of where they appear in air movers distance space. So disgust here is more prevalent in V1, followed by happiness, followed by anger. And then you have the other ones farther away. So this is the air movers distance, computed from gamma frame at time t to gamma frame at time t+1. So it's kind of traveling through and counting distances. So once you get all the distances from point to point, then you build a frequency histogram pretty much in the way that I explained earlier in the semester, how to build these histograms, right? And you can do that for each one of the Here is our good old narrative of Biden versus Trump.
In fact, our lead just doubled in Nevada.
This is before he was declared president-elect.
And look at the national numbers. We're going to win this race with a clear majority with the nation behind us. We've gotten over 74 million votes. Let me repeat that, 74 million votes.
Okay, so that's his narrative, and this is Trump's narrative. Oh, I don't know why it's not playing the audio. Oh, here.
We're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. As everybody saw, we won by historic numbers. And the pollsters got it knowingly wrong. They got it knowingly wrong. We had polls that were so ridiculous, and everybody knew it at the time. There was no blue wave that they predicted.
Okay, so anyhow, so that now here's narrative. This is Biden's narrative, and I plotted them against Vanessa Van Edwards' signatures. But you can imagine this doesn't make sense because we don't have their own signatures, and what we learned from the first slide I presented is that this is personalized. So we need to produce this in relation to Biden's on signatures and Trump on signatures. But having said that, what we can see is that they're very different. So Trump's is in this plane along with her expressions of sadness, surprise, contempt, and that's where contempt. No, this is Biden. So sorry, he's between this plane and this other area. So this blue is anger, disgust, and happiness, and this one here is contempt, sadness, fear, and surprise. And so this is Biden's narrative spanning that, and this is Trump's narrative on this plane closer to these regions here. So there they are, very far away from each other. So even though these reference signatures are not exactly what we should be looking at, but it's just to bound it relative to one that we know. So the point is they're quite different narratives. This is now when he was accepting, and also
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on presidential ticket in the history of the nation.
This makes me so happy again.
yeah. Okay, and so interestingly, the one thing that I noticed here, so this is Kamala.
The power to build a better future. And when our very democracy was on the ballot in this election, with the very soul of America at stake, and the world watching, you ushered in a new day for America.
Okay, and so in her case, so notice how Biden expands and goes all over the place. In her case, she's constrained there, and I would think that in her case she's being very composed. That she's being really, women are not supposed to be, because they're like then coin emotional, hysterical, and all that stuff. And I think that one way that I interpret this is that she's being more composed than she actually is. Like, this is, if you see her talking normally, like in other contexts, that's not how she talks, actually. She's very composed there.
I think maybe it's because of her background in law.
Yeah. It's like,
these people are very skilled.
yeah, very skilled in composing themselves and projecting the expected image they should project in the public. But if you look at her in reality, when she's like with friends or she's being in a more loose environment, it's nothing like this. This kind of it's kind of more lively and so on. So this might be responsible for that kind of shrinkage in the trajectory, but I don't know. It's just the supposition. But in any case, they're not far from each other. It's just the expanding of the trajectory, right? And it's, in her case, it's closer to Vanessa's sadness, and fear, and yeah. Anyway, so that's interesting. This is me introducing a speaker of our good morning or good evening to our audience from around the globe. As part of our lecture series of distinguished speakers of the New Jersey Autism Center of Excellence, today we have the honor to host Dr. Vikram Jaswal, a true trailblazer, a pioneer in the world of scientific research for the non. Anyway, so this is like my own thing. And so this is with respect, this is the narrative with respect to Vanessa Van Edwards' signatures. And this is with respect to Hannah. So Vanessa's signatures are farther away in this space. And so here, because they're in Hannah's case close, so it's kind of makes my trajectories look, but the point is that I go into this kind of plane, but then I go away from it with my eye area, particularly my mouth area and upper lip remains in this plane. So that's kind of an interesting thing too. So how we stand in relation to others. Oh, and this is something that has nothing to do with this. So it's just a picture I made for a series of podcasts that we were trying to promote. So anyways, I think it's very interesting. I can't quite make anything out of it just yet. So it's just beginning to characterize this. But so the one thing that I do notice though is that one is personalized, and two, the narrative expands and shrinks and travels across this space in ways that we might be able to quantify in relation to our own signatures and to signatures of others. And maybe with this measure of similarity, we can establish, given a narrative, like how close we are to somebody's social signatures and so forth. So that's what I have for the analysis I did so far. Questions and opinions, and I welcome comments. And
I wonder with the greater causality.
Yeah.
On board for the next class on how and what it will. Yeah. I mean, if one part leads the other, that's the best.
Because you could do the causality analysis within the person for each like of the regions, right? See which region is leading, but also when we put two people together.
Yeah.
Or more, or a group, like the whole Zoom interaction here could also be analyzed in this regard. Like what I did.
Anger causes anger. If anger causes anger, or happiness causes happiness to someone, or whether it's fake, in the sense that a fact that I know is that when people engage in social interactions, they subconsciously if they like the other person, they mimic
Right.
the old language. So I'm wondering if there's something like this in there.
Yeah. And so now we can go to town with this. We can have, and this is just the signatures of micro expression. We haven't gotten to the group analysis yet, which is the next step to do network analysis on the other stuff. But I want to first finalize this part so that we get a sense of like the individual micro expressions, because that already adds something to the story of universal micro expressions, universal facial micro expressions. Now we can say, yeah, they're universal, but look, there are individual variations here that we should not neglect. So that's one thing that we can get out of these. But then we can explore other things like how people are, the similarities in a summary metric across people. And then, for example, when we do the fake versus the staged versus spontaneous, we can begin to measure individually how much a person's micro expressions differentiate between something deliberate and something spontaneous, for example. And it may be different for each one of the emotions. Like maybe Theo micro expression for contempt, it's not very different from between deliberate and spontaneous, because he's not really used to spontaneously doing it. Maybe my micro expression for surprise is very confounded with I don't know, something else, fear or something. And the confusion, maybe the confusion separates when I do it spontaneously versus when I pause to do it deliberately. So these are questions we can actually, they're very tangible questions we can ask right now with these.
One thing I found very interesting with the data we have, the data we recorded, I don't know for others, but when I was doing happiness, I was trying to replicate what the Vanessa videos were. So it's like more of an imitation rather than fake, right? So we are imitating rather than faking an emotion.
Right.
That might not be true for everyone else.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, even though it was imitation, all our signatures would seem to be different. So that's interesting that despite imitation as a goal, it's not the same signature. But also V1, V2, V3 for most cases seem to be very tight. Like,
yes,
there's nothing about this that like V1 may be able to move independently than V2 independent of V3. So they could all have been in separate region, but it seems like there is a tight correlation in the signatures of V1 and V2 and V3 for each person. So that was also very interesting for me to see. I was expecting like, oh, maybe in happiness V1 is in one place, but in sadness V1 is another place. But that doesn't say anything about where V2 should be in these cases. But it seems like they are very tight. This means like we can't move these three parts of the body independent of each other. Like there is some really tight correlation in how we move them.
Yeah. And we can further explore that, you know, because if we get a separate plot for V1, V2, and V3 across the different the 7 micro expressions, and we also get those for each person, and then for the group, we'll see what the scatter reveals and so forth. So I mean, we can further explore all of that. Like maybe in some people, there's more independence between the mouth and the eyes than in other people. Maybe, you know, so and this could help us formulate a case for like stratifying a random draw the population based on these things, in terms of emotional processing and so forth. I think it's going to get really interesting when we do the spontaneous part. And I agree, this is much like imitation rather than faking. I said staged because you're imitating, you're staging something by imitating someone. But I mean, but you know, it's kind of for grabs, because are you doing it exclusively from memory? Are you doing it while watching her? Are you doing it,
Yeah.
all these variations? But nonetheless, it's going to be unambiguously different from the context where you actually spontaneously laugh at a joke or become sad with a movie clip or whatever. Okay, so next steps, I'm going to place this code in everybody's folder. So you do the analysis, and preferably I would like us to do this today, even if you just have one, like in the case of Melissa and Nipun, just have one, but even that one, just run the script to make sure that we understand what's going on. I will go over the script part by part. So today I'll do both the individual case, but also that ends up plotting on the gamma parameter space, but also the narrative, so that you see how the narrative was built, the trajectory of the narrative, and how that that we can do that next when we build a narrative. And then, so after that, the next step is when we have all of these recordings and the MATLAB data derived from it, we build a whole map with all of our, for each one of the micro emotions. But I'm recording this, but so from this discussion, primarily from Theo's and Nipun's points and my own comments, we can start drafting bullet points. And if somebody else wants to say something, please, so that is a collective manuscript. We want everybody to participate with ideas. So we really, don't be shy. Feel free to say, even if you just find it interesting or boring, or you don't buy it, or this is, I don't know, useless, or I think it's going to be really good. All of that counts, because in the discussion section of the paper, we can put all those points, okay? We can discuss your thoughts on it. Like, how would this apply to your own research? That's a very valid discussion point. If we're gonna make this a paper by you and for you, by the people and for the people, right? So, and think of potential applications, right? Beyond your field and so on. Even just for me as an educator, teaching pedagogically, this is very useful to do a hands-on approach to learning. And I mean, I hope you guys are learning, or you feel like you're learning something new. I am. So, okay, so let me go over the, any questions so far?
I took some videos not looking at myself. Remember how we talked about that last time? I think Richa made that point, that for a lot of these we were imitating, but also like looking at ourselves and being a little critical. So I took some, if we want to, maybe compare difference at all.
Can you share? Like,
yeah, I'll just put it in my box folder. So
another thing, what is the processing time? What I want to say is that maybe it would be possible, while like being at my laptop all day, record myself throughout like an entire day, and maybe segment and see, like, because I'm curious how this changes through the day.
Yeah.
Follow some circadian rhythm, because if we do this, I mean, sometimes people at night they may be like less happy, like they may be more bored, or I don't know, or the opposite. Like sometimes I feel more awake the darker it gets. So I was wondering all these things, but yeah.
You can do it, and
a segmented video, because it will take forever.
Yeah, you can do the different segments. I'll do like early morning, middle of the day, late at night, whatever.
Yeah.
While you're working or thinking, maybe when you're reading your papers and thinking, or
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So we could do many things for the paper. I would propose that we focus on the individual signatures, the narrative, and the stage imitation versus spontaneous, and then we discuss all these other potential uses and give examples on how you guys came up with ways. Like, this is one way. I'm sure you can come up with another way, like either is applicable to your research, or and so this belongs in the discussion section, but we'll have these figures of examples. Laura just told us one variation that she found, and we could go into that. Theo is thinking about that. You guys can think of different ways to apply this to your research and so forth. So I think this is really good. That's what this is meant to be. Brainstorming. I mean, we have a plan that is very well defined, and we're going to follow and pursue the publication. But this doesn't preclude us from thinking more even about other things that we can be doing with it. I mean, I just in a few days, like I'm watching the elections, and it's like, let me see what if there's anything different there. And there was. I mean, it's day and night between Trump and Biden, using the same exact methods. They just look very different.
I'd be interested to see the difference between Trump before and then that one that you used, where he was definitely like feeling, you could tell he was like deflated and his confidence was gone in that. So I'd be
He knew long ago, right?
Yeah,
He
even
just
like
faked the
before.
persona.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe in some of his rallies, in the early, or maybe in 2016 when he was winning, and compare that to, like, somebody can do this. You guys, you could download a video from 2016, like the big hype that he had, and then now compare it to this video that I just showed of his deflated demeanor, and that's a real thing. I mean, even though we don't have his signatures, it's a separate issue here. It's a separate, we're just doing the trajectory in probability space. And this adds information. So if you want to do that, Melissa, download a video from 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this video, so I can put it back in box. You have it. And we can run the, you're one of the students that has a Mac, so you don't have the way to get the wrapper to work, but I can do that. If you put the video there, I can download it and just run this thing and create a video capture of the screen where you see the grid and as well. And then you can do the analysis yourself. Once we go over these scripts, you can just run the scripts, and I can help you fill in the stuff that needs to be changed.
I really think it's going to be very different.
Yeah, that's a good hypothesis. So hang on to that thought. That's going to be your hypothesis, and that's going to be your very own question that you can address. Theo's very own question is differences during the circadian rhythm related differences and personality. Some people are night baboons, some people are day baboons, that experiment of the baboons and whatever. So then Laura had another idea of variations of herself while she was looking at herself and imitating and so forth, right?
Yeah, it was mostly Richa though. I think she came up with that, but I made the videos. So
yeah. So well, I mean, yeah, and you can do it together. So you can team up, and what other ideas? So Nippon, you had an idea, but my old mind is now failing.
No, I was just talking about the tightness of signatures between V1, V2, and V3, and sort of how
Right, but
one
you
might
can
be.
explore something there with what we have, right?
Yeah.
So write it down, and this is going to be our the paper is like, so we have this initial idea, but then in the process of doing this, we realize we can do a lot with it. So just each one that has an idea, we can test it out and plot. The plots are simple to look at. Any other ideas?
So
Yeah.
are we're gonna compare, I assume, our faked ones to like real ones
Yeah.
from where we watch stuff. So I was thinking I was gonna do this with my daughter anyway, because she's an actor. She does plays. And
Oh,
stuff.
wow. Yeah.
So I was wondering, and then, maybe reach out to some of the adults that she works with and see if their fake ones are closer to their real ones than like just a regular person.
Yeah.
In other words, can they actually act? Can they act?
Yeah.
Does it work?
Or I mean, if they learned these techniques, actors might be different than us because it blends. I mean, maybe you are a better actor when you're spontaneous, when the spontaneous emotions are really close to the to the staged emotions. Because I mean, if you think about it, and it also is different in theater than TV than movie because of the time constraints they work under and the styles and so forth.
Right.
But write it down and do it. And so we can actually do these. Who else has an idea?
I was thinking for the narratives, like if you tell a real story versus like a fake story, or if you're telling, something like just like lying versus the truth.
So, okay, so do that and get yourself recording the story that is real versus one that is made up.
Or like a personal one versus just reading someone else.
Yeah, and we can plot you on the gamma, your signatures evolution and see if they differ, see if we can capture those differences. So write that down. I'm not writing all this down, but I'm recording it. So we could actually write down each person is already given an idea. Kaylee and Jayway, you have to come up with something, and Richa.
I was thinking something because we're both second language acquisition.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I wonder, like, depending on what language you were hearing or what language you were seeing, like maybe different videos from different languages. I wonder if that would have any impact.
Yeah, maybe you can listen to somebody saying the same narrative in a different language, and how do you react to that? Even though you're not understanding it, or maybe when you're understanding it. So say you both speak Spanish, right? But you don't speak. So Jayway, what Chinese is it? Mandarin, or what Chinese? What do you speak?
I use Mandarin. And,
Mandarin, so native Mandarin.
Yeah.
Which you don't understand, Kaylee, right? And so you understand Spanish. So you're at disadvantage there because you don't you understand Spanish. So I was just thinking we flip it. And Jayway would listen to a language that he doesn't understand from you. But we could still do the Chinese version, right? And which he will understand, but you don't understand. And then the Spanish version, which you both understand. And then the English, which you both understand. So, and you can see how you guys react to it. And so we can plot both of your trajectories and see how you react.
Maybe there's a difference when you're speaking and you're fluent in a language versus not, and you're trying to speak it for the first time. Maybe there's something different there between those two.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
And the person who's like trying to understand it too probably has to require more work.
Yeah. So definitely you're a Spanish speaker that is native, but you're not. but you do understand J-Way, you understand Spanish, so, and you can speak it very well, but you're not native. So however, you're native in Mandarin and you don't understand and you don't speak it either. So trajectories are going to be very different of your faces when you listen to the same narrative spoken in those different languages. So try it out. Pick a narrative, work as a team, and we run these things and we see what they look like. Okay, Richard, we're missing you.
I haven't thought of anything yet, but I'll think.
You can take the one. I'm thinking about something that's tied to agency. So if you want to do the looking at yourself versus not, you can take that too.
Okay, if you don't, I'll try to think of something else too, and maybe we could do that one.
All right, yeah. So think about it, write it down. I mean, we can do many, many things with it. So why not?
Yeah.
Right. And then so we'll have like the kind of the group theme, you know, where we have all the signatures and we are going to make the point that, yeah, this is universal, but there are all these variations and we can also plot these trajectories. And then here's what each one of us try to do. Okay. And we're not even going to get into the group behavior just yet because that's more complicated, but we can. So let's see how we do with these to wrap it up, and then we can actually pursue the group behavior later.
So we have to recap the various topics are the one with the language, right?
Yeah, let me write down. Okay.
Yeah, because
I mean, I'm recording this. I was gonna sit down and extract it, but maybe we could together do it. I need a pen. I need a pen. Hold on.
The language one is super interesting.
Yeah, let me just find a pen, guys.
Volunteer.
Yeah, I was thinking of specifically like people who have autism, because they tend to have trouble mirroring facial expressions and things like that, and their affect.
And I think I know like Parkinson's too.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I was thinking even like with PTSD, there's a lot of masking involved.
Right.
No real like objective biomarker for that. So this.
Well, then you can fall in other things too, in anxiety or depression. Yeah, I mean, you must know. Like, I don't know, but definitely PTSD. But maybe PTSD will bring, I don't know, fear. Like, for example.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, you might be hard to do some of the like fear and whatnot with them because it could be triggering. But just the like the happy and the sad and the would probably be okay.
Alcohol would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
How drunk are you? That would be a good one.
I feel like depression would be something interesting too. Like, I wonder if the range of emotional expression is going to be lower, like the variance, you know, I feel like
probably,
it might be kind of like faking it most of the time. Except for the one.
And
one of the
too.
characteristics is apathy. Actually, depression is not sadness. It's
and I mean, there's like a range within depression too, right? Like, you know,
and it presents itself so differently in different people and has the same diagnosis. Like it's the same issue with all mental health disorders. So this
and it might
bipolar would be interesting. How it's cycles around.
Okay, got a pen. So, what are we doing? So.
We're doing language, we're doing depression, we are doing drinking.
All right, so language, we have J-Way and Kaylee, right?
Yep. And then I was going to do actors versus regular people.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so then Elizabeth, she's going to do actors versus regular folks.
Now, do we need to do a special informed consent because my daughter's only 15?
We have consent forms we can find for minors.
Yeah, it just would be parental consent.
Okay.
Yeah, parental consent.
That one would be really cool to like focus more on the different face regions, because I would think that actors have more control of their face or like more awareness of their face than we do.
Good actors.
Yeah. Maybe that's like how to
Good
separate.
actors, definitely.
Yeah.
Good actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Elizabeth,
is where I was like, Oscar one. We should do bad actors versus
Yeah.
Oscar winning actors. We just
Yeah, just give a call to Meryl Streep and say, hey, we have this
Yeah.
class.
please.
Entire Devil's Wear Prada is her
I
having
mean,
contempt.
do the career, like when an actor like do young DiCaprio with old DiCaprio. Like I think the difference will be huge.
Yeah, no, Elizabeth, I was going to tell you, I work with like dance, like not professional dancers, but something in between. So they are like performers in a different way than an actor. So I could like get data and give it to you too. That might be interesting to like look at the range of ability in a different way. And they're also pretty young. So they're all like, 19, 20. So maybe across the ages.
Yeah, I have a lot that are under 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few that are older than 18 that I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
The consent?
I bet I could find people that are older, like the people who teach them. They're in the 40s.
I mean, there's not something suddenly changed at 18.
Oh, I have an idea. We get like famous actors different points as they age. Like we do like Will Smith or Leo DiCaprio at different ages.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, you know what? We can do it with them without
From YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Richard. So that's okay. So aging actors.
Yeah.
Aging actors. And you're gonna do who?
I think Will Smith, because he has like a lot from.
And my generation is like Brad Pitt. Of course.
Do a woman.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, yeah. Or I think she's good.
Yeah, Brad Pitt like in Fight Club.
Okay, you choose.
Yeah, I'll
surprises. Okay, so Richard has the aging actors question. So I have language, Elizabeth, Richard, who else? Theo is circadian rhythms.
Yeah, because it's something that always interested me, like circadian, because it's related to everything.
Yes. And while you were away, Nippon suggested drunk versus not drunk.
I love it.
What kind of consent we need?
Well, we can do that ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Is Rutgers going to kick me out?
I think there was a Department of Alcohol Studies in that.
That's true.
The title, right?
Now, marijuana is not legal yet in New Jersey, right?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I can collect data in Canada. Don't worry. I can collect a lot of data in Canada for that.
I'm gonna grow us some. Don't worry about it.
You give us the tips, and I have in the backyard my green peas.
This was recorded in Canada. We'll just say this.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get my the university I did my master's in, students from there. That's fine.
Okay, Nippon, you're gonna do. Are you gonna?
Actually, I was not joking about drinking, but I'm thinking more now in terms of, because my interest is in agency, especially social agency. I was thinking to do it like when people are trying to convince someone and the emotions they use then versus when they're reacting to someone. So like that as a distinction. So that's what I was thinking.
Okay, so reacting to someone versus
convincing someone or manipulating some persuasion. Yeah.
Okay.
It might be cool to look at different political people.
Oh my God, yeah, that gets very contentious.
This is where I think YouTube would be easy to get access to as well.
Great to look at all these Republicans right now who are not condemning Trump for what he's doing.
Right. Or like people, because I just read this book called The Republican Brain, and it's all about how like they're very unwilling
Or you can map, I mean, I don't think there will be a correlation, but map where they fall in the political compass, political spectrum.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Just like ask, right?
But I mean, you have people like this guy who flipped completely, who said Trump was a crook, and then it's like, I love Trump kind of deal.
We call them in Greece the ones that do backflips. That's what they call it. Just flip from one.
What's his name? Lindsey Graham or whatever.
Oh yeah,
big shot guy.
The flippers. That's how they could go.
He's a flipper.
Okay. The thing with this is though, we would have to manually label the data, right?
Yeah,
the
I
videos
mean,
that we'll be using,
the
unless you're
data,
asking the participant to
the
do.
data that you're gonna be using is going to be right? Unless you're, I mean, if you're
Pre-recorded,
producing it,
yeah.
you're producing it yourself,
Yeah.
then you know what condition you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Nippon. What else? Laura, what did you decide to do?
I don't know. I'm still, I like the idea about depression. I feel like I could relate it to agency in some way. Maybe, you know, like their range of emotions is different. Maybe if they're trying to convey emotions versus like, even when they're interpreting other people's emotions. But I mean, that's a little different. I don't know though. I mean, I was like looking at like, maybe like you could have like a agency task where you change like the valence of the outcome and like see if that, you know, is reflected in their facial expressions. I don't know. I feel like I still have to like think harder, but something in that domain. Maybe.
Okay, think about it. Don't like make it very.
No, I know.
Don't think about it like it's a control experiment in the lab that you have to do.
I know, yeah.
Make it simple and like, you know, sexy.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like, I don't know, people will find that interesting. And
yeah. I'll think of something.
I was wondering if, because I don't want to do only me, because I can recruit some people to record themselves through the day.
Yeah.
Is that consent form have enough? Like.
So if they're adults, you just have the adult consent. They're consenting to being recorded.
Yeah.
And if they're minors, we have
to
have parental consent. So I think we covered all the grounds, right? Melissa, did I get you, Melissa? You were the first one. No, I didn't. So Melissa, what was the thing?
Mine was Trump in 2016 versus his.
Oh, that's gonna be good. Yeah.
You could even like compare Obama to see the difference in their.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Trump versus Obama. He will hate us. He will send an army to kill us.
He'll sue us too.
We will disappear.
All NIH funding from Rutgers.
With no explanation, we'll disappear.
All right, so and Mona, what was yours?
I'll get deported.
Like real versus fake narratives, or
okay, real versus fake narrative. So real is gonna be like real story that happened to you, right?
Story, yeah.
And fake is like just making it up. Okay. All right. I think we're set. We have one for each. In addition to the profiling that we're gonna do a few staging versus spontaneous. Now, because it's getting out of hands, then for the spontaneous versus stage, maybe we just pick two extremes like funny versus sad, right? And so we do that. And then this as an application of a hands-on approach to learning, because we're learning, right? We're all learning. It's fun, hands-on, and you know, it's just, and then we can publish it. Heck, all these people are monetizing all the stuff with emotion they do. It's like they have their own YouTube channel and, you know, very elaborate kind of thing. So we're not going to monetize it. We're just going to pay a journal to publish our open access stuff, which is the opposite, but it's good. Then we put it out there for people to use it. And this has many other applications. I mean, in the clinical domain, you can imagine that you can answer a questionnaire that you know, while they're, I mean, we did this in Parkinson with the dementia and stuff. We did this actually. G did it. So
another interesting one I think would be to see office meetings versus friendly groups. And now that everyone's hanging out on Zoom, that could be super interesting to see if people are more controlled and composed in office meetings because it's a formal setting versus an informal setting where you're just hanging out with your friends and family.
Yeah. So that's another interesting thing, and that one is a good one to do in the second part of this. So the first part is like our solo thing, right? It's like,
yeah.
but then the dyadic and group social group interactions. Like the first example of that we did with our lab meeting with the 10 people. I remember I presented that data. I can present again, but and we're not done there yet. I want to work with Theo on that to do the gangster causality there for the 10 people, see who ends up leading and so forth.
I was just wondering what, we have to decide which of the codes we'll use.
Yeah.
The other one worked, but it's.
Yeah.
I think I have an idea. What if we compare like in person versus virtual to see like if that makes a difference?
Oh yeah, that's very good.
In person? Do you have anything in person?
What's that?
You mean in person?
Yeah, like the way that you are expressing emotions when you're with another person versus when you're like FaceTiming or whatever.
So in person versus like Zoom.
Yeah, because if it's like you have to fake it more often in Zoom, maybe that's a cause for why we get so tired.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we all have, I'm going to transcribe this to a Word document and put it in the lecture today, in today's lecture 6, along with the lecture. And then we have also, I've been putting the Zoom movies. So I'll put the Zoom movie as well so that we all have the whole narrative and so remember everything we discussed. So, all right, so that's really, really good. Let me go over some of these some of the scripts and share the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Let me share the screen. All right, so this is the, you see the MATLAB frame, screen here? You see the screen, the MATLAB? Yep, okay, good. So I have the different people that I processed. So let me go to Richa, for example. And I will put this Richa in your box folder, like I'll put everybody else's too. But let's see what happens there. So the first thing is I created the Richa. So we have all the individual things, and I plot the individual signatures, and then create the plot with the seven ones. So let's just go over it. So the first cell here is going to just clear this workspace and create the vector for probability to plot the PDFs. I'm going to use the same colors for everybody so that we're consistent, and we can change these colors, by the way, for the paper. I just did a random. I just generated like a random set of triplets. And the way this works is like you have 3 numbers here between 0 and 1. Normally the codes are 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, and so forth to create the red, blue, what's the other one? Blue, red, yellow? No, green. Just the triplet of colors. No, you have there's a lot of different colors. So if you do, for example, in MATLAB, you do help. It's a plot. And then you do documentation for plot. Let me move it to the screen. Do you see the documentation for plot?
No, it's a blank screen.
It's a blank screen. Okay, stop share. Let me share again. How about now?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, so that's the documentation for plot. So when you plot something and you give all the specifications for the different, if you scroll down, so I'm just gonna scroll down to the colors. There is a table. These are the marker types that you can use in MATLAB, and these are the color, yellow, magenta, cyan, red, green, blue, white, and black. Now these ones have these RGB triplets. So 1, 0, 0 is red, 0, 1, 0 is green, and so forth. But if you, this is a number between 0 and 1, and so you can get other triplets here. Like, and that's what I did. I chose from different, so you can get the, you know, so the different hues there. So that's how I did it. Do you still see MATLAB here? No, because, okay. If I were to just share this screen one, you should be able to see it. All right, so that's just that line, colors. This is a number to scale the kurtosis, and we can play with it and make it smaller. So that is proportional to the size of the marker. These are just labels that I created for readability in the code so that I can use anger, contempt, disgust, fear, and so forth. So let's process Richard's anger. And the first thing is I take the data that Joe's wrapper creates, which is V1, V2, and V3. So if I load that, which is, this is what Joe's wrapper creates, the .mat file. And that gives you V1, V2, and V3. And as I said before, V1 has 28 points, V2 has 14 points, V3 has 27 points. And we can then create this speed profile from it. So speed V1, speed V2, speed V3, which I will plot in a moment so that you see from like in the presentation. And then this build record amplitude will create reach anger V1 and so forth with all the different, it's a structure, right? That has all the different fields. The original raw data time series, which is the speed, the micro movements time series, the indexes where the peaks occur, and then the estimated p hat, which is the two parameters, this shape and the scale parameters. So this is the dispersion, and this is the shape of the distribution, and these are the confidence intervals, the micro movement full, which has the full number of frames, the original number of frames, minus some frames, because we're just making sure that we start at a minima and end at a minima so that we get the modification of the scaling of the peaks between the two surrounding minima. And this is what we're plotting on the gamma moments parameter space. So we're plotting the mean, variance, skewness, and then we're scaling the size of the marker to this value of the kurtosis.
Did we confirm if the distributions were gamma?
Huh?
Did we confirm the distributions were gamma?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I did at the beginnings. I haven't done it systematically for everybody, so we can do that with the MLE code that we have. Good point. We can double check. I did at the beginning, but and it was well fit by gamma. And then we can do the PDF. So that's all the data that this creates. So you have all of that data for each one of the face regions. Then we do it for happiness. And here I'm going to plot then the comparison, the waveforms comparison between happiness and and anger. So like I did in the paper. So in the PowerPoint, so this is for the different regions, V1, V2, V3, right? And you have the higher frequency peaks here, and the other peaks with higher amplitude that occur less frequently. Okay. And so this just goes and creates the subplots. So this is like a matrix of subplots 2 by 3. So it will create 6 subplots, as you can see here, right? It has 6 subplots, and that's how you do it in a 2 by 3 grid. Put the labels and the title and everything, and then prints that, maximizes it. You don't have to maximize, you can, but I just did it for better visibility in the class. And I forgot to change that. So what I did is, okay, replace. Now, so what you can do is, like, your name obviously is not going to be Richa, so you go and you change here Richa by Nipun or Theo, whatever your name is, and then you're going to, all I did was I ported Hannah's, I forgot to change that, but so that's it. So then we process the whole thing, and at the end, when we have processed everything, we can then save it all together in a script, which is going in an array of this structure array that has in alphabetical order the 7. So anger, contempt, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise. So this is in alphabetical order, and this will plot all the signatures in the gamma moment space. So let me just run the whole thing. That's the micro movements. And these are the 7 micro expressions from Richard. When you plot yours, obviously it will be your micro expression. So if you rotate them, you can see that they are, in Richard's case, quite separable. So the one that is closest are the mouth of the contempt with the eye and nose of eyes and mouth of the disgust. So in her case, and this will change from participant to participant. So, but there you have it. Oh, I changed the in my screen, I changed the font to make it bigger overall, and it screwed up my resolution. So I had to work on that. Oops. Oh no. All right. Just there. All right. So there. All right. So that's that. Let me just close it. So that's the one that I will place during the break in everybody's, so you can actually run it and create those plots and bring it in next class. You can change your name and so forth. This can be done more generic, so we could actually do this without having, as a function that you pass all these things, but I didn't put the time into that. So that would be to create, and these are the ones that I did, just so you can each one recreate that. Then let's do the narrative. So close it. This is the narrative. Any questions? Okay. So again, this is the same start as the other one, but now we have Vanessa's Edwards narrative, the one that I show in the can you see the PowerPoint there?
Yes.
Yeah, so this one is the,
Hello, YouTube friends. I am so
and then so this would be the one, right? And so I'm just gonna shrink that. And so what's happening here is, so we load that math movie and create the speed. We said this is at 1 minute intervals. When we load her, let me load, let me just hold on a second. So I'm going to load her thing. And here's where you get the frames per second. So her case is 23.97. So, and it has this V1, V2, V3. So now let me change that to FPS. And this would be FPS. Actually, I could just change this to FPS. And get rid of this. Okay. All right, so that will create then the sliding window of 1 minute long times the resolution that comes from these. And that will create this new V1, V2, and V3, where we get then, but instead of being just one, like it was in the Richard's case that I just ran, that was just one. This is actually this light window trajectory will create a whole array, a cell array of these things. So let me just run it. And so it's running. Okay. It gave me a warning there. I have to see what that warning is about. But new V1 now is a cell array. And it has, each one of them has these values of a speed. So instead of being just one array of a speed time series, it has all the time series for, in this case, V1 has 39 cells, 39 sets of speeds, which come from taking this number here. So the segment length is the size of the window. In this case, that's what we have. Each window has that many frames with 10% overlap. Okay, so that's, and this is something to play. This is what I was referring to, that we have to play with this to see how to set that up and to what extent it changes our results. Now I'm going to plot the narrative. So the build record amplitude will be run on each one of the cells with the speed profile corresponding to each of, and this will create each one of the gamma frames. Each will create all the fields for the structure. So I call this movie phase. So movie phase sub I is just the gamma frame I for each one of the phase regions. So let's plot it. So this is what it looks like. And now I'm going to plot the signatures, which I call phase 7. So these are the signatures that I had saved from her. And let's see where they fall. All right, so that's her trajectory. And that's where it falls in that space of her signatures. So between the anger and the sadness and so forth. So now we can obtain the profiles, the profiles for each distance profiles from each region to each phase region, from each of the points in the movie phase, which has these gamma frames to each one of the reference points in the, and then this is the phase region is V1, V2, or V3. So for each one of the phase regions, we compute that information. So in your box, I will put all these functions that are required to run these. See if I, yeah. Okay, and now we can plot that information. Oh, this is very annoying. I gotta change that thing. So this is for V1 region. So it's closest to the yellow one here, which is disgust. Then second closer is the green, happiness, and this one is anger, and so forth. And this is farther from this. So this gives us the distance to each of the different, this is region 2. Let me grab it. And region 3. So region 3 has anger and as the closest one, because this is closest to 0 from frame by frame, right? So this has 30 something frames, 37 frames, and that frame by frame, that's what you get. And then the green is happiness and disgust. So changes from the other profile that we just saw, right? Because here the closest you have is disgust, right? So it's different, and so forth. And then we plot those color maps that I show you in the presentation for each one of them, 2 and 3.
What's the input for EMD distance?
Yeah, let me go over that. So let me open that function. Okay, so EMD, let's go back to where we call it. So EM distance V1 region. So that one, I think is in this other. I'll see where I put it because it's in the past. So I put it somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So to run EM distance, you have to have this the library and C libraries and dynamic libraries and this. So you will have all of that And so here's EM distance V1 region. You enter the phase region, which would be V1, V2, or V3. And so that I'll make sure to document this properly. So phase region here is 1, 2, or 3. You enter that. Phase 7 is the structure that has all the 7 facial universal microexpressions for the person. And movie phase is the gamma frame by gamma frame that you create with a window and the overlapping, a sliding window with the overlapping thing. So you take that number of frames comes in the movie phase, and I set up number of beams 10 because and you can change that as well. That's for the air movers distance. What it will do, it will create a histogram. We will create a histogram, and with the number of beams set the same for everybody, so that it doesn't just default to some arbitrary number. So that's just for uniformity, and it's comparing for each histogram 10 beams. And then calls air movers distance, which I will place also, of course, in the
What's F1 and F2?
air movers distance. It takes all the inputs are created from here with the histogram output, hist, and the weights. These are the weights, and the function that you call is this a ground distance function, which is part of the air movers distance computation. And then that's for, it's just a switch case statement, cases 1, 2, or 3. So it will default to the 1, otherwise just it will ask you for the correct region. So that outputs the pairwise.
I lost your audio for a bit. What's H1 and what's F1 and W1?
So yeah, so if you do help, hist, so let's just go to the documentation. And so this is an old one, so maybe we need to change it to histogram. I think I did that in another version of this movie distance. I had to find it. But essentially, hist still works for the 2020 version of MATLAB, still there. And it outputs the centers and the counts for each one of the beans, where the center is and where the counts is. I remember I did this histogram. Histogram outputs the edges. So I took edge, one edge minus the other edge divided by 2 to get the center. For, so, but that's what it is. So these are the centers of the beams, right? So everybody remembers how a histogram is built, right? It's in lecture 2 or something. I explained it, right? And so you group all these values. So the air mover distance would be like, say, from 0, which would be the identical to, say, 10, which would be they're far apart, right? They're different. It's a similarity metric. And it will group in each one of these beans. So it's at 10 beans. And it will group in each one of these beans the values. So it will count all the elements that are between 9 and 10 will fall here. Coincidentally, these are 10 beans and the 10 integer values, but in reality, this is anything, right? So in our case, the range is from 0 to, say, 1.5 or whatever. So let me go back to here. So this is what I'm plotting here, the histogram. So it's from 0 to 0.18, right? And there are 10 beans here, 10 beans, and grouping the values bean by bean, right? So, and you can see here, for example, in phase region V1, which disgust is more prevalent, that's the distribution of beings that you have versus following by happiness. So the closest to 0 you are, the closest frame by frame that narrative is to the micro-expression, the signature reference micro-expression, right? So what's happening here is you have this point, for example, and we're measuring that point in distance against all the other points, right? All the other, each one of these. So you travel through the trajectory, and for each one of the points and each one of the frames in the trajectory, you're measuring against each one of these emotions. So you have here 7 emotions and the trajectories, the points of the trajectories. So in this case, you have 80 something points for this particular example. And this was taken at 5 seconds window. So that's why you have 80 something points there. If we had taken it at 60-second window or a 30-second window, you have fewer points in the trajectory, right? So in this case, at 5-second windows and 10% overlap, you get 80 points. And point by point in the trajectory, you're measuring the distance, the air mover's distance with respect to anger across all these points. So from point 1 in the trajectory to the last point. So, and each point, remember, is a gamma frame,
Yeah.
right? Which encompasses, in this case, is 5 seconds. So it's 5 times like 20.3 something frames per second. So that's the number of frames that you have in one bucket.
Yeah. So to
right?
get the EMD,
Between bucket at time t and bucket at time t plus 1.
Yeah.
Right. And with respect to anger, so my reference point here is anger. So I go back here, right? And so where is anger? The blue, the dark blue here. So and this is a triangle. So for the region in the mouth, I'm measuring between the triangle here and that. So, I mean, this is the first point. So from here to here, and then the second point from here to here, and then until I reach the last point. So it goes boom, come back, and somewhere in there is the last point. And so that's what you have here. For the third one.
So the input for getting the EMD though is not the value of the parameters. It's the value we get from the histogram when we plot the numbers corresponding to that particular point.
Yeah, so HA here is the number of centers for the bean, for each bean.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 beans. So you have for bean number 1. So let's go back to the picture here.
Yeah.
So say bean number 1 here has, I don't know, 2 points, 2 occurrences. Bean number 3 here has 50 occurrences or 45 occurrences, whatever, and so forth. And so that's, you're giving it the list of these values. So 0.03 is going to be between 0.02 and 0.03. So you're going to have a whole list of those values there. Is everybody clear on that? Right? And so that's for each one of the, and that's how you build that color map. And it's the same thing converted now to histogram. Now, that's what the input is. And then this is just the transpose of that. Like I could just have used that. And these are weights that the MO resistance requires. And they come from the number of, so whereas this is at the center, this is the number of beans, the actual number, weighing each one of these values by how frequent they are. And then so this is pairwise, right? So you're doing at time t and time t plus 1. Right? For each one of the emotions. So you're calling in a loop and getting the air mover's distance for each one of these guys, right? So at the end, then you have, if I go here, right? So you have these the 7 emotions, and for each one of the emotions, you have the list of values. For V1s, you have 39 frames, 39 gamma frames, and we obtain the air mover's distance from frame to frame, right? So this is for emotion 1. So if you go back to that's anger. And this for emotion 2. If you go back to this as contempt and so forth. So you have those values here. But why do I have to wait? Why do I have 39? Oh yeah, it's 39. Yeah, this is not the same as the picture here. So in the picture, I computed with 5 seconds window. Here we did 60-second window. So big difference, right? Big difference. So this is 1 minute window and the other one is 5-second windows. Is everybody clear on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So the air mover's distance profile, the histograms, what is this? Oh yeah, that thing. Okay, never mind. Okay, so that's the histogram and the imaging, color maps, the histograms. I think that's it. And then some non-parametric statistics for each histogram, which just, we can do other statistics. We don't have to do this. This is just an example of a rank-sum test to see which ones are non-statistically different pairwise. So that's just one way to plot it, but we could do other tests when the time comes. And then, what is this here? Oh yeah, so we can also plot the trajectory on the gamma plane to kind of understand where these values map on the moments parameter space. So here's our trajectory here in red, and I should be consistent and plot this in black, since I use black here for the circle. So I wasn't careful, but I'll change it to be consistent. So, but essentially it's close here to disgust and happiness in this case. Then the whole trajectory is closer there than to surprise and sadness for V1. And then for V2, so this should be black. This should be black here. Oh no, black is K, not blue. Wait, I just want to make it black. Yeah. So that would be consistent with the color that I use. Let me close this one. Here, so that would be the black one, the black trajectory for the V1. And then V2 is blue, so that should be okay. Okay, so that's V2. And again, it's closer in this case to happiness. So no, not to happiness. What's the blue one? Anger and so on. So the gamma plane, what it reveals is that the locations, the correspondence of the locations. So these in the bottom are more variable, so higher noise to signal ratio, and they also have closer to the exponential. This is the log. So, but in this direction, remember, is the exponential range when the actual value is 1. This is the log, so it's not. It's a higher 100 value. So, yeah, and so this variability over here correspond to this point. So this higher skewness and has lower sigma, lower variance, and lower value of the mean. So these are higher value of the mean, higher variance, and lower skewness. So that's the mapping from the two spaces. So it's good to have that. And this one should be red. I had them inverted, so that should be red. Right. And so the mouth spans a broader trajectory here using this windowing of 1 minute. So there you have it. Those are the plots for each one of the face region. And I'll put this code in the box so you can plot it for your own face. So that's and your own trajectory. So you will be using your signatures, your personal signatures, and your narrative, whatever the narrative that you're going to do, and you're going to see where it falls, how it distributes, and so forth, both for the plane and for this space. So here the trajectory unfolds nicely, so you can see where actually is closer to, and so forth. So very nice visualization. And then we can think of other ways to visualize other things. These are the PDFs. Oh, this is so annoying, my God. I gotta change this font resolution again back to what it was, because it's driving me nuts. And these are, so that's for the 7 universal micro expressions, and this is for the each one of the references. And again, I screwed up, and this should be black, but I'll make it. And this is blue. This is correct. So that's the blue one region, and this is the other one, which is red, to be consistent with the picture. Okay, and that's the most variable one. The mouse, in her case, the mouse is the most variable one. She has a very expressive mouse. So that's so those are the two the two scripts really. One is to plot your individual signatures, which will be the references, and the other one is to plot the narrative in relation to the references, so you can see where it localizes. So I will place in the box all the functions that you need to do these, and all the and the scripts. So in each person, I will put the script, and you can change the names and so forth. Any questions? So I think that, so we have 1 hour left, but so I think that maybe you spend that hour in making your videos, right? So I'll put, and then we let's reconvene at 5, like 10 to 5 or something, so that we review what we have. So by then I will have put this code in the box. You should have uploaded your stuff there, your movies, and then we coordinate who's gonna convert whose movie, because not all of you have the wrapper. So that we create the MATLAB and upload it to Box. So for next class, then the homework is for the next class, you have all these plots ready so that we can begin to see the big picture. So save. The other thing that this has is you say, I'm saving each one of the 7 expressions and the structure with the 7, right? And save the trajectory, save the narrative trajectory as well. So I'll have all of that in there, so that when we meet next time, what we will have, because I will then take those plots and put them in a PowerPoint for us to start thinking about the first figures, the first couple of figures in the paper, which are going to be one summarizing each individual 7 micro expressions, and then one putting everybody together to see how we all group. And then the other figure is going to be the narrative, the narrative that we build. So that's going to be the narrative that you choose. But we have each one of you chose to do something different, so that would be like the second part. So let's complete the first part, and in the rest of the week, then you will come up with a narrative for what you chose to do, whether it's from YouTube or you produce it yourself and so forth. But by then you have the narrative code that you can just plug it in and get your plots, so that next week we're already doing that. Does that sound good?
For the narrative, do we have to have all of the emotions? I forget what we decided.
No, so because you came up today with these other sub-projects, which are very exciting, for the spontaneous narrative, they just have 1 happy and 1 sad.
In one narrative, right?
No. No, so we'll have 2 narratives, 1 happy and 1 sad.
Got it.
One is going to be the spontaneous one, and the other one would be, I don't know. I guess the spontaneous one, right? Because otherwise it's going to be hard to get the 7 emotions as spontaneous, right? So the first part is going to be the staged emotions that we're imitating from Vanessa Van Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the staged emotions. Then we're going to do 2 emotions, sadness and happiness. If you want to do anger, we could do 3. Like anger is also easy.
Mm-hmm.
Spontaneous? Not spontaneous, staged.
Yeah, so we're going to do a spontaneous, because the stage we have.
So the spontaneous.
I mean, we have to have the stage narrative, but I don't know how do we do that?
We could do like reading a story.
Yeah. Like reading a sad story or.
Yeah, I put some in the Google spreadsheet or whatever, the Google Doc that we had last week. So I wasn't sure if we wanted it to be the same for everybody, or I just couldn't keep track of what we.
Yeah. So what do you prefer? We probably this part we do the same for everybody since you're having your own little projects. So this is the first part of the paper is like the uniform thing.
But everyone will react differently to the same.
Right.
Right.
Different. So.
Right. So, but this is like the uniform part where we all are doing the same thing. And then each one has your own little project. And so there you will have your own narrative that, it's going to be different. So, so let's summarize. So for this one, we have the 7 universal micro expressions that you're all going to have. So we plot those.
Staged, yeah.
A staged, yeah. So that's imitation.
The ones you have already.
The ones you have already. So I think Nipun and Melissa are the only ones missing. I will put the scripts there so you do that. So that we'll do that individually.
Upload
then
it.
we'll plot everybody on the same plot to see where we all fall, like I did with happiness and anger. Then, so that's part 1. Then part 2, we do the narrative. So we'll do reading a narrative. We need to choose which one so that we all do the same.
Are we not doing just spontaneous face, like the sadness, happiness?
Yeah, so we can do happiness, sadness, and anger. Like those 3 are easy to find movie clips for, I think. And so we do a stage 1, which would like be reading or something, right? Stage 1 that we agree on. And then we do the spontaneous, looking at the movie and watching the movie and then laughing or being sad or being angry or something, right? So that's part 2. So we're done with that. So that takes care of like the narrative part. And
what's the point of staged one?
no, it's just to see if it's different when the narrative is, to see if it's different. Like for example, is it going to just see if it's different. It's going to be different, but just how far everybody is from.
Okay.
So, I mean, one question that we're addressing here is for each individual, how much differentiation there is in the emotions. So maybe, Nipun, your emotions are very far away between sadness and happiness, but closer in anger and sadness or something. So we'll have, since we can measure that similarity, we can make a plot later when we have all that data where we profile each one of us. Like we'll see pairwise across the whole group who is closest to who. We'll see in a matrix that computes air resistance pairwise with the signatures, with the universal signatures, who's closest to who in the group and who is farthest, and so forth for each emotion and for each region. And then we'll see that also for this. So we'll see that for the stage emotions, but we can see that for the spontaneous. Okay. Because the reason being that we can, with a movie, we can do 2 things. We can do the summary of that signature, and that's just one shot thing, right? But then we can unfold it and do the narrative. So we can also see how that oscillates for each person. Is that clear?
Yeah.
And of course, I will transcribe, first of all, what we did talk about in the class. So we'll have that in the document so that we have it for the methods. When we describe the methods of the paper, what we're doing. And also I will describe there like what I just said, which thank God I'm recording, because otherwise it's like, how am I going to remember all of this? So, but you can you can also, since the movie is going to be available, you can also do transcribe, make sure that I'm on the correct page here, that I didn't forget something or didn't screw up. So I mean, it's collective work, right? So
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Wait, what were you saying? What are we doing right now? You said something about doing something and then meeting back up at 4:50. What?
yeah, it's like 10 to 5 or something. Like you and Nippon would finish your emotions thing because you only have happiness, right?
Mine are uploaded now.
Okay.
So I'll do it. Yeah.
Not processed, but
So
That's yours, Melissa. So they're in there.
oh, thank you.
Okay, so
Just me.
so at 10 to 5, what we can do then is go over box where I will upload in the code. So we make sure that we're all ready for the week so that you can generate these pictures and so forth.
Can someone process my not looking at myself videos? I put those in box. Maybe we could do that.
Yeah, did you put them like in a different folder that says?
No, just mine. Oh no, so I can make a separate folder. They just say no look instead of just like, it's pretty clear like which one, hopefully.
Okay. Also, Nippon, when you put the videos there, remember to name them Nippon happiness, Nippon anger.
Okay.
Because some people were naming just happiness or anger, and then it's like once you save it, it's hard to know who is who. So I had to relabel those things, and it's kind of a bit of work, extra work. So let's meet like at 10 to 5 or something so that we go over what's in box that I have put there. Unless you have any other questions.
Are we not doing like spontaneous just for the expressions, like without the narrative?
Yeah, that would be nice, but I thought we would do it for only 3, a reduced subset, because I mean, I don't know, disgust, I guess we could all agree on a bad smell and find a bad smell to smell it. I don't know.
No, it makes sense just to do.
Yeah, just to do 3, because that will give us, we will have the 3 staged and we can compare to the 3. So we could do anger, happiness, and sadness. Those are easy to find clips for.
Yeah. And so the spontaneous, sorry, just so that I'm 100% clear, we are going to have one where we're reading a narrative that will present the thing spontaneous, and then another where we're watching a video? Or are we just like out of nowhere?
I think just watching the video.
Okay.
The reading the narrative was to do something more staged rather than imitation, but
got it.
Right. So yeah, let's just watch. So when we meet at 5, 10 to 5, let's try to have the document that we're sharing ready for the spontaneous 3 things that we're gonna do. And so we'll, as a group, agree on which one we're gonna settle on to do to each person, to everybody do those 3 for the spontaneous case. Okay.
Okay.
So should we be looking for happy, sad, angry videos?
Yeah.
There are some up there.
Yeah, so we'll just go over what we have, and
I'll look for some Fox News clips to make us all angry.
Or discussed.
Yeah.
Contempt too, all rolled into one.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. So you guys, this is your project. So you pick. Talk about agency. So this is really what agency is about. So
you guys want to grab this? It's gonna be a while.
So all right, guys. So should we meet at like 4:45 so that we have 15 minutes to settle on what we're gonna do for the spontaneous stuff? All right. So I'll see you then.
or staying? You coming? Are you staying? Stay. I'll be right back.
Recording. All right, so there we are. Let me share it. And can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, right?
Yeah, so let me, if I go, wait, what happened?
We're coming to you live from outside the U.S. Capitol building, where President Trump will address a joint session of Congress in fewer than 24 hours. You may hear construction noise behind us during the show. That's because there is construction going on. There always is in Washington, the richest city in America. We want to thank you for that, for sending your tax dollars here.
I don't.
can't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it. It might be in another window.
Oh, okay, hold on a second.
And everything is super blurred too.
Yeah, okay, hold on a second. Let me move it. Okay, hold on a second. Let me try to get it.
You can also just take the link and watch it by yourself. You can start at the same time.
Yeah, maybe that's better since we can't see it very well on the sharing. But I was just hoping we could record our own facial expressions. Although,
You can try sharing it if maybe it's just like a computer thing.
no, you know what? I changed the phone size and it screwed me up.
Also, if someone's sharing the screen,
You won't see
will all the pictures be visible? All of us would be visible? I don't think so.
No, yeah, no, we don't have to do that, but
We can screen record like separately, not using the Zoom recording feature.
yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah.
Something that needs to be done at the same time. I just feel like it seems like it'll be a little complicated if we all try to do it via Zoom.
Yeah. No, let's just check on, but so the point was just to check on these links to agree like unanimously on what we're gonna use.
Yeah. If we see them though, would it change the
Yeah,
way
that's
we
what I'm
react
thinking. That's what I'm
after?
thinking, that it won't be, but it won't be spontaneous then.
Yeah.
I have full monitors, which means I can watch on one screen and record on the other.
Yeah.
So I have everybody on, and then I have you just speaking on the other screen. So we might be able to do that, and then I could just record from my side.
Yeah, my only concern is that it won't be
Spontaneous.
spontaneous. So
Does it have to be the same video for this one?
Well, we kind of wanted to have one set at least that we all experience, so it's uniform.
I see.
And then if you want to have another one by yourself, that's fine. But
Yeah.
for
Maybe we can do
uniformity,
that. We can all watch it independently and record it,
yeah, let's do that.
and that way we'll be together still.
It's just that I don't know which ones to we should do. In the sad stuff, so there, I'm gonna just get rid of, we're just gonna do anger, happiness, and sadness. Now in the sad, I have put there some animations like with cartoons and stuff, as well as so, but we could just do humans, right? Or
I think human would be more sad.
yeah.
Although, you know, puppies
Yeah.
puppies are sad too.
I don't care that much about humans. Yeah.
Yeah, like a dying dog, I think gets everybody.
Yeah. All right, so let's agree on something. Like what do? We do for anger, we have 3. So we could do the 3. I mean, it's just not a big deal.
Well, so the first one is long. That's why I put like a little time thing to.
That's 2 hours?
I don't know if it's that long.
No,
But
it's
like a longer clip. So we would just have to, like, if you want, you can watch the whole thing or just like pick a segment of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we could do
here, let me see.
Let's just see the beginning of that.
And you want us to do these with the blue screen behind us, right?
Yeah, that's for uniformity. Let's put the blue screen behind.
Yeah.
It's like already annoying me, like just hearing Tucker Carlson talk. Like around like 1:45 is where it gets fun. So maybe we could watch like 2 minutes from that point or something like that.
Okay, where is it?
The first one.
What is this thing? Well, now I can't find it. Oh God.
Presidential debate.
We can watch that too. Yeah, I also had that in there. That's like highlights. It's not as like enraging though as Tucker Carlson trying to tell us that climate change isn't real. To me, at least.
I think everyone here believes that it's real.
It's hilarious. And it's like with Bill Nye too, which makes it even better.
Hold on a second. I can't find the damn thing and it's annoying me already.
Okay, let me see. I'll put the link back in.
Anyway, so I can't, there's this guy talking nonsense and then, yeah. Sorry, I can't find where this thing is playing. Okay. Oh, man, that was annoying. Okay, let me go back to the document. I'm not clicking on any of these. Okay, so we agree on that one. What did we say there about the climate change debate? 1:45, what did we say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Agree on like how long to do? Like should all of the segments be the same length?
Right.
Approximately, yeah, ideally. And then Quanon rally. So we're doing that one too. And clips from the first presidential debate. Okay. Happiness. What's going on there?
The first one's funny. I don't know who put it up.
What are you talking about? Which one?
Oh, I put two. They're very short, but they kind of make you smile more than like or laugh.
Unfortunately, I wanted to show a very fun one with Trump, but they put it down. It somehow got removed from YouTube.
You put one there?
No, I was hoping to find it, but
Okay. So we need more happiness videos there. Okay, so and then sadness. Okay, I got the hang of this now. Oh no, I got, yes, this is sad. Okay, fine. Yeah, so what are we gonna agree on for sadness? So happiness we have to, okay. What are we gonna do for so we agree on anger, those three, we're gonna do those three. And it's not a big deal to do them, just so we can have three of each. For happiness, there are only two. I don't know if they're like, we need something funny.
Does everyone like dogs and babies?
Oh, baby
Yeah.
falls are fun. Baby fails are fun.
Baby fall and like dogs barking at babies and making them laugh, I feel, are
Okay,
like
great.
really happy.
Yeah. And yeah, so those, what is the animal? No, funniest home videos. There are some good ones there.
It's time to go.
Did you put it in there? Can you add the link? If somebody finds someone, can you add the link there? Sadness, we have several. We have a few. So should we do three of each?
And there's a funny one down on the second page as well. I don't know if that was copied up under. No, it's not there. So there's a funny one on the second page that could go under happiness, I think.
Ah, the
Right?
funny one.
No, wait.
Yeah.
No, those are the narratives. Forget it. Forget it.
Ah, okay.
We can just delete those probably.
Okay, I'll delete these things. Discussed. Sadness. Okay, from surprise down, I'm deleting all of that.
There's a third page too, down at the bottom.
Yeah, so I'll delete all of that, or do I leave it?
I think
I was just working there to share it with.
Ah, okay, no, sorry. So I'm not touching it.
But whatever.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So just the narratives, should I delete that or what?
Yeah, that's fine. If we're not reading a story, that's all that those are.
I found a very funny one for happiness, just so you know. I finally found it.
Okay. Can you add for happiness? Can you add it there, Theo?
I added there. It's the third one.
Ah, okay, let me
You
see.
should watch towards the last minutes. It's Trump at the kindergarten. Screaming. So basically, I couldn't find the parody, but this is funny enough. I made the parody where supposedly she was in a kindergarten. He actually went to kindergarten a few years ago and played with the kids, and he acts like a kid himself. And they made a funny video that Biden told him it's time to go. And he was screaming, "I don't want to go! I don't want to go!"
That's a nice one. I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do. Okay, so I'll watch that.
Wow, unbelievable. What an
Go to minute to 4, after minute 4 and after.
What is it? Donnie goes to school?
Yeah. Minute 4 and after.
Oh my God.
Do you guys like celebrity mean tweets?
Huh?
Does anybody think that's funny?
What?
The celebrity mean tweets thing, those videos. I can find one that's funny. That's a little longer.
Yeah, those are funny.
Okay. So add the link. So I'll delete the surprise, discuss stuff, right? We're not doing those. So that leaves language videos. So that's gonna be in the next page. Okay. All right. I'm going to transcribe these ideas, but if somebody would volunteer to go over the video, I'll put the Zoom video of the class today there and make sure that I didn't forget anything. That would be great, because that would be like for the method section of the paper is going to have to explain all these things.
Sure.
I'll do it.
I can do it. Too.
Okay, good. Yeah, the more the merrier, because that way we won't forget. It's like we want to agree on like the story of what we're doing.
So we should just record our reactions like the first time watching the video.
Yeah, that would be spontaneous. That's why I'm trying not to watch them now, so that it's kind of fresh.
But maybe like if we need them to be a specific length, we can like trim it afterwards to be like the part where we actually like laugh or.
Yeah, maybe we mainly show it until it show that okay, the time that you think is. We agree on the time since we haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Also, it's easy to just separate them out as well into sections video so that we can later discard some or not if you don't want to. Right.
Yeah, like the Clidio tool would allow you to cut and merge, and which we will be using anyways to crop and the face nicely and everything.
I have to leave now, but I'll watch whatever you guys decide.
Okay. Huh?
So are we all going to watch all the videos and then just make a separate face thing for each?
Well, I was hoping that we had like 3 for each, but we agree on which 3 or 4, but that we would agree now on which ones.
So I think we have 3 for all of them except for sadness. So we just need to cut 2 out of sadness.
Yeah, so for sadness, okay, let me see. So the first one is okay. That's gonna be sad. Second one.
The last one's really long.
Yeah, so that one also. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's another. Yeah, I think the first 3 would do. We can get rid of the other ones. So, and I mean, this is like what we're all gonna do as a group, right? So we'll each do these 3, right? But if you want to now find other video that you feel strongly makes you really happy or really sad or really angry, then that would add to, that would be a fourth thing. And then we just know, you mark that this is the video that makes us, these are the three that we're all gonna do, but then we have one that we pick. So that would be, just pick one that you feel is gonna make you really sad or really happy or really angry. Okay, I think we're done. So I'll transcribe this as much as possible, put it on the box, and along with a code for the trajectory for the narrative. And then if you have any questions, email me. Okay, all right, that should be fun. Let me stop the